Hello, government students. So I'm gone today. Sorry about that. But I want to make sure that I give you an opportunity to have this bill introduced to you before you start to research it and plan your arguments for the debate on both sides. Don't forget that you have to have 5 arguments for this bill, 5 arguments against at a minimum. You can use the articles that we provided you, but you also need to find at least one article or piece of evidence on your own. So that's new for this bill. You did not have to do that in the last one. You need to do some of your own research for this bill on your own. Also, make sure that you cite your sources. You can do that in a number of ways, but in general, for this first one, as long as you have a URL to the website that you use, that would be sufficient. Make sure you're using good sources that are reliable and provide good, unbiased evidence. All right. So this is HB number 2. It's a House bill, meaning that this is a federal bill. If it's signed into law, it will affect all people in the United States. We're calling it Everyone Deserves a Living Wage. It's a federal act to increase the federal minimum wage to what we consider to be a living wage. If you look down at the bottom here, we have living wage defined as the minimum amount of wages needed to meet a family's basic needs, which we believe the federal minimum wage right now does not do. So I'm going to go ahead and read this background because I think it's important information to have, and I don't believe that the majority of you would probably read it if I don't. So here we go. The federal minimum wage of 25 cents an hour was first set in 1938 to provide relief from the Great Depression that was sweeping not only through the United States but the entire globe. The minimum wage had been raised from $5.85 in 2006 to $7.25 in 2009. During that same time period, prices had increased at an alarming rate. The cost of housing, healthcare, education, transportation, and insurance had risen at an astronomical rates. U.S. citizens living on minimum wage are not able to meet the lowest standards of a healthy lifestyle, as you saw in the video that we just watched. These low wages have led to poverty, homelessness, crime, and health problems that have led to increased welfare payments, which is costing our government money and our taxpayers money. Increasing the minimum wage is the only way that all U.S. citizens will be able to have a healthy and respectable life while allowing the federal government to reduce the number of welfare programs that it provides. So what is this bill going to do? Section 1, guidelines and requirements. Basically, it's going to increase the federal minimum wage for all adults to $15 an hour. So that means anyone ages 18 or over that doesn't work in a tipping industry will earn at least a minimum of $15 an hour. It will also increase the federal minimum wage for tip-earning employees to $6. Right now, that's in the $2 range somewhere. So if you're making more than $30 in tips during your what's the word I'm looking for? During your shift of your job, then the minimum wage that your employer can pay you is $6. If you're making less than that on average, it will be a $15 minimum wage still. This is different for people under the age of 18. Citizens under the age of 18 will have a new minimum wage of $9 an hour, which is still higher than most minimum wages around the country today. But we don't feel that necessarily high school students should necessarily be paid as high as some adults living on their own do. This will help employers to be able to still find part-time work in the summer and not to have to pay an arm and a leg to get students to work for them. Lastly, we just want to mention that any state may increase the minimum wage beyond our standards by a vote of its legislature, but they cannot go below $15 an hour. So if Wisconsin wants to make it 18, they're more than welcome to do that, but the law is it cannot be below 15. Costs and funding. So the costs associated with this bill will be minor. Administration costs that are associated with just letting employees know about their new wages. So we don't see that really being a concern with this. Federal and state governments will see savings in welfare programs because people will have higher wages, and that will lessen the need for them to receive services like housing allowances, food stamps, government-run health care, and things like that. So we're hoping that this is actually going to save the government money in the long term. Unfortunately, it'll be up to the businesses to make sure that they provide the funding to pay for these new wages. Implementation, the Department of Workforce Development will be in charge of ensuring all employers are informed about the bill and that they're abiding by the regulations. As far as enforcement and penalties go, the Department of Workforce Development will ensure employers that all employers are in compliance with the bill, and if they're not in compliance with the bill, the Department of Workforce Development can fine them up to $1,000 per violation of the law. So that means if they're paying 10 employees less than $15 an hour, they could possibly be served a $10,000 citation for that. And after a certain amount of time, if they're still not up to code, they could be served another citation. So that is how we'll be enforcing it, and that is how we will make sure that companies are following this law. As far as the timetable goes, if we pass this, which we're hoping that you guys do, it will go into effect within 6 months after the passage after it being signed into law. So that is the bill on Everyone Deserves a Living Wage, House Bill number 2. We'll be debating this next Friday. Make sure you have your debate sheets and your research organizers all completed. And we will see you next week. Have a good weekend, you guys. Take care.